taking us out of turn and hearing the Safe Communities Act and dedicating this entire day and this entire committee hearing to this legislation. I want to emphasize that I really think this is an important moment in state's history. This is a civil rights bill. This is a bill that, when I think back to other votes and other issues I've taken on, I think back to some of the first votes I took on as a freshman state representative on same-sex marriage. So I think this is a civil rights issue. I also want to emphasize that this is, as Chairman Naughton knows, this is not the first time that this bill has been heard by this committee. This bill, in an earlier version, was known as the Trust Act. This is the third term this has been filed, although this bill has some added versions. But I want to emphasize this is a bill that has gone through this committee a number of times, been reviewed, sometimes reported out, sometimes not. And I also want to emphasize, before I give my written remarks, is that this is real in Massachusetts. Deportations are happening in Massachusetts. It's not just other parts of the country. And Muslim Americans are being profiled in Massachusetts. It's not just in other parts of the country. So when you consider the Safe Communities Act, I ask you to consider and think about the families that are being ripped apart, about the families that are being profiled, that this is something that's happening in Massachusetts, and I would argue is deeply opposite to Massachusetts values. Throughout our Commonwealth's history, immigrants have enriched the culture, economy, and social fabric of Massachusetts. Immigrants continue to be crucial to the Massachusetts economy. They constitute more than 20% of the labor force in 18 industries and are essential to the Commonwealth's workforce as researchers. President Trump's broad immigration policies, however, threaten the vitality of our economy. After speaking to small business owners, as well as CEOs of larger corporations, I can tell you that Trump's executive orders make all immigrants feel unsafe and unwanted in the United States and in every state that is complicit in its immigration enforcement. And it's important to emphasize what has changed. Under President Obama, there were deportations, but under President Trump's executive orders, virtually every single undocumented immigrant, including those who have not broken the law, are considered priorities for deportations. In January of this year, ICE agents have been targeting courthouses, places of worship, shelters, and schools to indiscriminately identify and detain immigrants in our communities. ICE arrests of non-criminal immigrants, and again, undocumented immigrants who have not broken the law in New England, have more than tripled under President Trump. Very quickly, what this bill would do, it would ensure that Massachusetts police resources are used to fight crime, not assist in federal immigration enforcement. It would prohibit state support for any Muslim registry or any other registry based on religion, ethnicity, or national origin. It would prohibit collaboration agreements between sheriffs and ICE agents. It would ensure due process rights for immigrants who are detained in state and local facilities. And I want to conclude and say that it's really critical to make a connection, and many police chiefs will echo this today, is that by allowing ICE agents, federal immigration officials, to collaborate with local and state law enforcement is making our communities less safe. We have statistics that so-called sanctuary cities and towns have lower crime rates than non-sanctuary cities or towns. That if you send a message to immigrant communities that local and state law enforcement are complicit or involved in deportations, immigrant communities are much less likely to talk to police, to reach out to the police chief, to have that trust, to report crimes in their communities and their neighborhoods. So when you're talking about whether this is a public safety bill, as the title of the bill suggests, this is also a bill to protect people's public safety. And you will see sheriffs today, you will see police chiefs, you will see other law enforcement speak out in support of this legislation and highlight that public safety element. Again, thank you for taking me out of turn, and I want to thank all my colleagues who are standing here behind me who will introduce themselves after Representative Matias's testimony.